There we go. We're live.
Wow, that's impressive. Straight
I
in.
know. We had some technical difficulties. So for the folks who are tuning in, sorry. It was me. It was all me this time. Blame me, and I will own it.
It's me.
Well, it was either that or like halfway through the stream, my computer would have rebooted. I'm on my work computer, and I got this. Your organization's going to reboot your computer at like 9:25 or something, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what's so magical about 9:25.
Could it be?
It's like it was like a tea time. It's like a tea time
right?
for golf.
That's how they base their policies, Dwayne. So surprise.
Based on golf. Based on
golf time. Yeah.
I have a tea time. I gotta launch this update at 9:25.
9:25 because my tea time's at 9:27.
Yeah.
Because they never go on fives. It's always like some random like 9:26.
So we have Johnny.
Well,
Chips
welcome everybody. We got Johnny Chips.
Hello everyone.
The incomparable, as I said on my social media,
the man, the myth, the legend. He's
former Microsoft MVP. Former Microsoft MVP.
Yeah, current Microsofty.
Current Microsoft.
Yeah, that was a cool transition.
I did. I took the upgrade. I traded in. I went for the blue badge. Yes. How are we all? Firstly, it's good to see everybody. Again, like I've kind of disappeared for a year. I think it feels like from my point of view, anyway. But thanks for having me on. Pleasure.
Yeah,
to
of
be
course.
Here.
I want to know.
It's one of the.
Oh, sorry. Behind Johnny Chips. Like I want to know the chips part. Like
the chips. Do you know what? Right, in all the time that I've been doing stuff, you're the first person now to ever ask that question.
Wow. I always loved it.
No.
Like Johnny Chips.
Do you know it's a really convoluted, long story, so I'm going to do my best to kind of
plenty of time
shorten it down. So think of
first question. First question. We could take the whole hour. Go ahead.
So little Johnny Chips moving into the world of work when I was kind of 18, 19 years of age, completely green, new to employment, didn't really get it. My first job, I had to travel away for kind of the first 6 months, which was, about 150-mile drive, going up, jumping in the car on a Monday morning, stay in a hotel with a bunch of older guys that worked in a factory on a shop floor kind of when I was kind of there in my shirt and tie, all naive and young. And it was the first time I'd ever stayed away from home, really was, so I didn't kind of get it. What was this hotel thing all about? What did you do in the morning? You got up and you wandered downstairs and somebody would say, and this is my best, I don't know, Midlands, because it's a place called Loughborough is where I end up working, which if you know the UK is kind of East Midlands is where they call it. So I'm going to try and put on a really bad accent, but they speak like, hey up, my duck, you all right? How can I help you? All right, my duck. That's the accent, so I know you guys are all over the pond. But anyway, I walk downstairs, young John walks downstairs into the breakfast room. All these old guys are eating their breakfast. I didn't even know what a full English or a cooked English. This is how naive I was. So this nice lady comes up to me, all right, my duck, what can I get you for breakfast? I was just looked at her all bleary-eyed and went, I don't know, have you got any chips? And obviously chips in the UK is obviously potato fries in America. But at that point, the entire breakfast room erupted in laughter, who had chips for breakfast. So it was, you can imagine all my colleagues were there, Johnny Chips for breakfast, Johnny Chips. And that's when the legend, and I kind of repurposed it, because nobody knew it was actually, well, they do now, related to the potato and the eating of fries. I kind of repurposed it because it's all chips, computer chips, it's like, so it came in. So there we go. So that was my shortened version. But
that's nice.
Naive John staying away from home for the first time in his life.
I could see an 18-year-old like, just give me some chips.
Yeah, right.
There's so much to be said about what you learn over the course of your career, your life, all of the above. Nobody really preps you. And honestly, I made this joke.
Shannon. Can I say?
Yeah.
She bought me the biggest bowl of chips as well for breakfast.
Did she?
Yeah.
So she took care of you.
Breakfast, yeah. So there we go. Anyway,
that's like the best you can ask for, right?
That's
like
the best
it's
story.
Above and beyond. It's above and beyond. It's not what you expected. You didn't know what the heck you were doing.
Waiting first.
Yeah. And it was probably like double the size of normal.
It was
like
because they had to cook a full bag. There's no point.
Yeah.
Beans and toast and eggs.
I just made this joke though. I was like, I kind of wish there was like a guide to life, but then it would be like this, thousands upon thousands of pages that nobody would have read through. But yeah, there's a lot of things that you just kind of have to figure out on the fly. And you don't know, you ask dumb questions and people are like, you're not from around here, are you? And you're like, yeah, no, I'm not.
My first time taking the train to Chicago, I was like 18 or so, a suburb girl. And then it goes into Union Station and I'm like, are we in Chicago? It's like, one stop. I don't know. Person next to me probably thought like, okay.
Well, at least Chicago has the Midwestern vibe. Like I've asked really dumb questions when I was getting acclimated to Chicago when I first moved from Nebraska. Yeah. And Johnny, just to give you an idea, Nebraska is much smaller. It's like the town I'm from originally was less than 300,000 people. And I moved here almost 20 years ago. And Chicago proper is like almost 4 million people. And if you count the suburbs, it's closer to 10 million. So I became, way more people all of a sudden, and a lot more of I don't know where the hell I'm going. But Chicago has that. It's an interesting blend. Like it's like New York light, but it still has this Midwestern vibe to it. So you can ask dumb questions and people aren't like,
mostly nice.
TF you talking about, bro?
Yeah, it might give you crap, but
yeah. But they'll at least get you on the right way. There were a couple times I was in the wrong spot. Like I got off on the green line once thinking I was in the right part of the green line, and there's some parts there that are a little sketchier, and I got off and somebody could tell that I got off on the wrong stop, and they stopped me and they said, where are you going? And they pulled me back into the train station, and I told them, and they said, you get on the train going the other direction, you go about 2 or 3 stops, you missed your stop. And I'm like, oh God, of course I did. So
like lessons. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's how it all breaks down, though, isn't it? I was going to say, yeah. So I think we've all learned these things, and I suppose that's one of the things I always enjoy talking about as well. Is where you learn your life lessons whilst working in IT, right? Whilst working in IT, because I think we've all probably learned a few lessons there as well. So there's probably some fun stories to be had there. They're always good around the campfire of a night, aren't they?
Right.
Amy did just turn it on you. I've never asked you where Wired Girl came from.
Oh, it's Weird Girl. And again,
weird
it
girl.
Was my I think I was 18. It's gonna be a good.
Was it your AOL screen name? You can be honest.
Yahoo email. I still have it.
Weird AOL Girl.
And it came from Dune, weirding, because some people thought it was like the Weird Witches that from Terry Pratchett, but that's a cool story if that was. But it's from the weirding and Dune, and there's a whole backstory. Like, and Friends, he was Weird One, and I was Weird Girl, and but I always did Wired Girl, Word Girl, I'm like, it's fine. But I just stuck with it. I didn't because I know you can change it, but it's kind of like Johnny Chips. It's like, it's my
right. Exactly. That's part of your brand. Your brand.
Yeah. Right. But I still have my Yahoo email with that. I get spam now.
I was hopeful for it being your Hotmail or something, right? Like there are those people that still use their Hotmail email.
Yeah. Yahoo.
And I'm like, didn't it change to Outlook? But I don't know. But yeah, there are some people who are still using Hotmail.
I still have Hotmail.
Still have Hotmails. Yeah.
I still have Hotmail. I chose to use something really, really, kind of on point, which was my initial surname. So I didn't do the whole kid thing and pick something bizarre,
Some random, yeah.
I can still use it if it wasn't full of hundreds of thousands of spam email.
Oh yeah, it's pretty much my spam now.
Yeah,
my son's gonna really have a problem when he gets a little bit older because his screen name and his emails and all that are Broccoli Man, and I don't know why, but it's like he just something random broccoli? He picked. He does actually. He's the one.
Well, that would be
the one kid that does of all of mine that'll actually eat broccoli. So that works. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, John. I'm the same way. My Comcast email is just the first 2 letters of my first name and my last name. I didn't go all crazy. With my email addresses.
Too many Amy's, too many, at the time it was Roush, there's no, I was like, forget it. Yeah.
But yeah, my son, 65432, did you? That was the thing.
Yeah, right.
0000.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son, he is chess master, director champion. Now he's got a Ian Manley, a proper, because he's applying at jobs, and so I'm like, you need to change your email, because
it's good.
That's what I realized. I'm like, I can't use Weird Girl at Yahoo. I need to come up with.
I created all my kids' proper Comcast email addresses years ago with their first initial last name, and oldest and both my boys have the same first initial, but they so I use for my youngest I use his middle name initial too. So but they all have proper email addresses for when they go into the business world. So yeah, that's what my daughter uses.
Good planning. Of course, the level-headed daughter. No offense to men.
Yeah, it's funny. My dad has 3 daughters, right? And now he's got 2 grandsons, and it's fun to kind of watch him go through this motion of I kind of always wanted, like, he would never say that out loud. He loves his daughters, but I watch him with my son, and I watch him with my nephew, and it's a different version of him. But I often wonder though if he thought we really, had a handle on things, and I don't know. It's I don't know if you feel it, because all of us have kids and we know what we went through, and we're seeing kind of our lives being somewhat reflected in our kids a little bit. And I always said I would never say boys will be boys. Now I have a boy who is one of those boys, and I'm like, oh God,
Like,
I can't say that.
Cliche.
Yeah, it feels, and I was like, I'm never gonna have the cliche kid. Oh no, my kid's like, he was playing with like his blocks. He was driving around like cars long before he even got his first car. And we're like, what? I guess it is a thing. I don't know. I mean, I think every kid's different and unique, but yeah, it's just been funny to kind of rationalize it,
I'm at the stage with my kids now where they're old enough to start thinking about boyfriends and girlfriends, and believe me, that is a whole new experience that I wasn't expecting.
Yes.
That kind of shit.
How are you prepping yourself?
Yeah.
I don't, honestly, I'm not. I'm just kind of taking it as, I mean, my son is nothing. He's the exact opposite. He is such a, I don't know. He's a ladies man. Well, he's a man. He's 18 next year, and he's the exact opposite to what I was like. Put it that way.
Sure.
He's very sporty, very athletic. He's got the beard. Say again. Sorry, Amy.
I said he's got game. Like
he's got far more game than I have.
Riz, the kid. He's got Riz. He's got Riz.
Yeah. So, but that brings in
W Riz.
Problems.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So he's your hockey player, right? Is he your hockey player?
He is. He's the hockey. Well, he was over in Canada for a year last year, so he's back now in the UK. And it's life doesn't prepare you for these things. I don't think adequately. There's no handbook on what do you do when you find out that your son has got a girlfriend and your daughter's got a boyfriend. And
see, we don't. I don't know that. My daughter's 20, but she's very college driven, so she doesn't have time for boys. Allegedly, we don't know. And then my oldest is special needs. So he's just what's the next Marvel movie, or now it's the Trolls. He's really excited about the Trolls movie and NSYNC getting back together for some reason. I don't know why. I did not come from me. I think I made it known in a previous webcast. I gave my family COVID when I went to an Anthrax concert. So NSYNC was never my game.
The irony of it being Anthrax. Sorry.
I know the irony, right? Yeah. But my 13-year-old, almost 14, he's got these him and his buddy are hanging out with these twins, and the one does percussion with him, but he's like, she's just my friend, she's not my boy. But I chaperoned a thing, and it was like the one girl, my son, his friend, and then the other twin was next to the other. I'm like, do we have this weird twin thing going with between the buddies, and he was at the football game hanging out with these girls, and all of his football buddies, American football, Johnny. All of his American football buddies were coming up to him, going telling him how he had W Riz, because he's like, oh, you're hanging out, you got these girls with you, and twins even, So all of his friends that go to a different middle school but are on his football team were all like, way to go, Aiden, giving him the thumbs up and everything, and he's like, they're just my friends. Okay.
Yeah, I get in trouble if I call anyone a girlfriend or boyfriend or anything. I'm like, well, it's a friend, and I'm like, fine.
I mean, they'd be cute together. The girl's a cute girl, and so like something there. He's a big football player now. He's got the W Riz going. So
yeah.
But yeah, he's
wait,
he's having fun. So we just leave him alone. We find out any girl information because he talks to his sister about it. So
So John, I'm looking at your Twitter. Like, have you been at Microsoft a year now? Because it's like
Yeah.
28.
Yeah. Just saying now just before we started.
I
Yeah,
was gonna say,
week.
I thought it was a little more than a year, but it dawned on me.
Nice.
It was like November.
November.
Right?
Yeah. Next week, I think. Yeah, the 7th is when I started. 7th November.
Okay.
So
yeah, because the 28th,
So
you had your last like little episode and announcing. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I've been I will be getting back to that. I think I want to try and get back to it, but with a bit of a different twist now. I've got the insight from behind the curtain, so to speak, just to kind of take it into
it's definitely different being at Microsoft. That is for sure. Like there's a lot that you get exposed to and that you see. And what's funny is stepping out of the mothership and going back to like an SI like I'm at right now. Like I'll say things like I'm a former Microsoft and everybody perks up and they just start listening. And I'm like, that's not what I just was trying. Okay, cool. So you're going to listen to me. Sweet. Let me tell a good story, you know?
I'm the odd person that has not been or is with Microsoft at all. So I'm the oddball of the group today.
I know. I just found John on Teams. I'm like, sweet. I can message.
Yeah, I'm on the internal Teams thing.
Yeah. I know him and I. We both dropped each other a couple of IMs before my role was unfortunately eliminated. But we never got a chance to sync up when you came over. You were like, we should sync up, and then we exchanged a couple of IMs, and then both of us got busy.
It's phenomenal. I think when I wasn't at Microsoft, I was just saying now before we started, I was really kind of enjoying the whole community spirit thing. Obviously got the MVP in Azure and, speaking to all you guys and everybody else across the community. And you're right, the UK seems to have a really kind of strong Azure presence, not to say over in the US, there's a lot of great people, you guys included, of course, but I think it's a really good kind of fun. I think certainly over the last year, Microsoft have, don't get me wrong, it's been absolutely brilliant. I really enjoyed the last year, but it has flown by. It has been full on. It's been everything you probably imagine it would be, in that sense that you're in the mothership, you're there learning. And I think for me, I probably, the role I've moved into is a specialist role. So it's not a strictly technical role, but it's pre-sales essentially. So I call it technical pre-sales, but it's not necessarily. To be a specialist, you don't necessarily have to be that deep technical, but you bring your experience of what you've got. If you're sales orientated, great. If you're technical, which was my background, so of course I've been learning all the salesy kind of side of the business, which I'd had a fair amount of exposure to before, but
all the acronyms.
I think I was lucky in. Sorry, say again. Sorry.
All the acronyms, I was
all the acronyms. I've been working with Microsoft for 25 years.
The salesy
I
ones.
got used to the acronyms, but it's funny now I'm speaking with customers as a Microsoft employee. I find myself just spouting these acronyms and speaking in acronyms. It's like, it's ridiculous, but yeah, no, it's been a ball. It's been really good fun, and it's still so much to do, and it's just every day is a lot. but good fun. But like in amongst that, I miss community. It's like, I know we should carve out time to do the things and keep our sanity and all that good stuff, but sometimes that's difficult.
Right.
It is. Now that I'm not at Microsoft, I can't tell you how many people are like, go get your MVP, and I'm like, see, here's the thing. Like, my kid's young, and I want to hang out with him a little bit more right now. Like, I think when he's a little bit older, I could go down that path. Juggling him's not a trivial task, as you know, because all of you have older children.
And there's still handbooks for that age, by the way. We were talking about needing a handbook, but
there are
like raising toddlers.
No, it's true. It's true. And you know what's so crazy? We were just having this conversation. My wife and I, he got really frustrated yesterday, like really frustrated, like to the point where I'm like, I just wish you could speak. And I think that's where his frustration is. He's got a limited vocabulary. We sort of know what's going on because, we can empathize or whatever. But I think I don't know. I think if we finally figured it out, he had tooth pain because his first year molars they've popped in, but they're continuing to grow all of the way in. Because they don't come at one. I was like, why do we call them 1 year molars? Then they're like 1.5 year molars. And every time they kind of like break more ground, because like they're almost all they're pretty much all the way through, but like the one I think on his right side, isn't all the way in. And that's what we determined it was. And I'm like, I wish you could. I wish you could like read their mind or at least know a little bit more about what's going on. I mean, I know in very short order here, this kid will start talking and won't shut up. So we should be careful what I wish for. Yeah.
And then they'll stop talking again when they're like 13 or 14.
Yeah, that's when I'm no longer cool. Yeah, that's when I'm no longer cool. I'm totally fine with that. I'll get some of my life back. Maybe that's when I become the MVP, when he's like, screw you, Mom. I don't want to deal with you.
It happens like around 8 or 10. I don't.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. Yeah.
That's about the chronology of time that I was thinking.
Yeah, right.
When my kids stopped talking to me, it was like COVID struck. It was like, well, what am I going to do now?
Right. Who do I talk to?
I'm going to talk to the public.
Right. There you go.
I think we all did. It was interesting.
I'm going to share with everybody.
Because I think all of us went 2-dimensional. We all started talking online, and we all started just trying to like make do, because it was a weird 3 years, you know. And I think we could say 3 years, even though it's, I think, over. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I've heard of a lot of people that have got it. Like
went through my team, and we're not even close to each other.
Yeah, right.
The variant's passing through teams now.
Through teams, yeah. All of a sudden, like one by
like
one.
this weird AI virus now.
There's some ratio of Teams meetings to COVID exposure, right?
I'm like, well, we're getting it before Ignite at least.
Yeah, that's good.
Their antibodies.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna go get my my updated booster on Friday,
please.
Because I mean, I'm starting to travel. I mean, I have been traveling, but it's that time of year where like the flu and cold, potentially COVID is just
dropping like flies.
Yeah, so I don't need, because I've got 2. I'm gonna go to both Ignite and reInvent, so should be interesting. I'll get to see Amy in person. It'll be nice. I've been seeing Nick in person a lot, so I have not seen a lot of Amy, so it'll be nice.
We have to go to Seattle to see each other.
Right? So one of my friends works for Qualtrics, and they went through a weird riff. In fact, my friend's job was eliminated, but he's got until like April to, I think, finalize all of the bits and pieces. So they give them an interesting cushion. But anyway, we used to live in Chicago together, and then he moved to Salt Lake City, and then for Qualtrics, and then we would never see each other, right? But we'd always see each other in Seattle. It was just hilarious. Like, we have to travel to a completely different city to see each other, because we never saw each other in Chicago, or I never came to Salt Lake City when he lived there. But now he's back, so I see him more often with his wife. But yeah, it was funny. It's like we have to go to a different city completely to see ourselves. Yeah. So yeah, it's funny how that works. Yeah.
I have to drop, but it's so nice to meet you, kind of in person, John. Johnny Chips.
Likewise,
and I'm sure, hopefully, our paths cross soon.
I'm sure at some point, yeah. Well, I'll be lovely to get over the pond at some point. In the next
for sure.
Year or so, but no. Thanks, Amy. Nice to see you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Amy. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, you too.
We'll keep going on.
Yeah.
Ask
Carry on.
Yeah.
So we were talking about traveling and stuff. Are you in your role? Are you just more so in your local area, John, with Microsoft? Or are you doing more traveling?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. I mean, like a lot of companies, you know, there was, as we come out of COVID, and obviously with everything that's happened over the last year with the economy, and obviously Microsoft in particular, with obviously the redundancy situation, there was kind of expense limits and things put in place. But I think we're kind of getting back to traveling a little bit more, but I'm predominantly, I'm finding that I'm working from home quite a lot of the time, traveling into kind of either TVP in Reading or into the Paddington office in London every now and again, but not a whole heap of time, or to customer sites. It's just nice. The other day, one of my customers has got offices located just down the road from me, down the M4 over towards West Wales. So nice part of the world. So it's like, okay, I'll jump in the car, go over and see those guys, just to work from their offices for the day and say hello, and just, have a bit of a catch up. So working on some cool AI projects at the moment. So it's just nice that they're so local. But a lot of my customers are, kind of London based, or at least got HQ near London. So for me, that's a good 2.5 to 3 hour journey in, because
you're that far away. I don't think I realized you were that far away. Okay.
It's about 150 miles from where I am to London. So it's, it's a good journey. And of course, getting to the edge of London is one thing, then getting to the center of London is another hour or 45 minutes at least, So, but yeah, I mean, it's certainly ramping up. I mean, I'm in London actually this coming Monday. So And I think I could probably be there every day if I wanted to be, but I think I
Sure.
got, quite a nice amount of control over that. But yeah, it's a nice mix, I think, at the moment for me, because certainly my kids are still, they're like I say, my oldest son, he's not quite got his driver's license yet, but he's not far away. So I think I'm still dad's taxi, still them to kind of be there on the weekends and
Sure.
shuttle them around. So you know what it's like. As soon as you start traveling, you kind of miss those. It takes your day away, especially if you're traveling to
It
London.
does. Yeah, it
But
does.
what about you guys? Are you still, kind of close to home, or are you getting out and about much?
So my role is technically a national role. I've gone all over. I just got back from Grand Rapids, Michigan. So Dwayne, I meant to tell you this. I was about 2 hours, 3 hours
Yeah.
from you for
2
for a good
hours.
part of the week. Yeah. We thought we were going to be over in the Novi office. Ahead as a Novi office. I think that's a suburb of Detroit, right?
That's like 10 minutes from me. Yeah.
All right. Well, I will keep that in
So
mind because we
if
thought
you're
we were
coming
going
from
to the
Novi,
Novi
if you're
office.
coming to Novi, I am just north of Novi. Yeah.
All right. So I'll make
I am like
sure to
right.
keep that in mind.
I am like one exit off of the highway, off of 96 from Novi.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So yeah, we
really
have an office in Novi. We have an office in Grand Rapids. They usually do their QBRs for Michigan and Indiana in Novi, but they decided to do it in Grand Rapids. And I mean, I would have driven regardless because it's maybe like a 20-minute flight to either area. So and Novi is not really that close to Detroit. I would have had to get a rental car and drive anyways. So, but anyway, so yeah, so I was out there this week. Couple weeks ago, I was in Cincinnati. A good chunk of my team is based out of there. I've been to like Dallas, SoCal, San Francisco. So we go whenever they need us. I am considered a solution architect for Ahead, so I'm not as mission critical for some of those sales conversations. But it's when they want to pick apart and figure out the bolt-on stuff that we can do. That's when they call me. So sometimes things like QBRs are great for me to go and get in front of the sales teams and talk about our offerings and kind of reswizzle the narrative so that they can go have those conversations. So, but I've been trying to be smart about it. Like I don't want to. I could be on the road every single week of the year if I really wanted to be.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't want to be, but I try to do like maybe as much as like 2 or 3 nights in a row. And if it's even better, I'll just do one night. I've done that too. So it just really depends. But trying to do it an inch back in slowly because when the guy's little, I don't want to be on the road every single day of the week because I've had those jobs where you're getting on the road Sunday night, you're coming home Thursday, and then you're getting back on the road on Sunday. Those are rough weeks. It's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And it was, looking back with hindsight, I was doing that when my kids were young, and it's it's not easy, leaving young kids as well. Like you say, you've got to juggle that family life as well as the pressures and strains of being on the road and the tiredness and the lateness and just being away is not a great experience. So yeah, I much prefer the way things are now. I think it's probably fair to say.
Yeah.
I went to Reinforce in June, and that was the first time I had traveled for work in a long time. And like I said, I went to Grand Rapids in September to speak at GERCON down at Van Andel Arena. So that was cool. But that was just a day trip. I think we did a connecting in the clouds, and then I hit the road and drove down
really?
and spoke there, and then headed
Drove
back.
Yeah.
And I was back around about around 6 o'clock. So I've never had a job that's made me travel a whole. I was a Michigan rep for a while, so I would do Michigan, and every once in a while I have to go like fly to our corporate office in Connecticut and do some stuff, but I've never been like that national road warrior kind of aspect of things, which is good. Because I do like I hate being away from my kids and the flexibility that it gives. My wife's a school teacher, so she's got to be in a building from 8:30 to 8:30 to 4 every day. So me running, I've always been the one running kids to I've dad's taxi, as you said, John. I've been dad's taxi, and my daughter, when she was doing theater in high school, I was her dadager because I knew her schedule and everything like that. So I was always called dadager. So those were always things about that. And now I make my own schedule and do whatever the heck I want. So
He's his own boss.
No,
I
it's
think
good.
that's what we want to get to,
but I
right?
don't. But my boss doesn't give me a travel budget. I don't have a travel budget yet to go to like reinvent or ignite. So
it'll be a 2024 thing. We'll have to make sure that the boss gives you the budget, right? But
I'm attending virtually to Ignite. I'm actually going to be going to do a virtual session, Learn live session.
Nice.
With a buddy of mine, another MVP, Brian Gorman. Me and him are doing an SAP deployment session. It's like mirrored around the Learn content and kind of like a hands-on kind of thing that that came up through. We both have a Learn experts room. That the Learn community started this year. And they asked anybody that was interested in delivering the session, and Brian and I coordinated to raise our hands for it. And so
nice.
And we worked together previously at Opsagility, a learning partner. So we know each other really well and talk all the time. So and so it was kind of good. It's going to be fun to do that session. So
that's cool. Yeah.
When I was at Microsoft, I was regionally aligned. So when I was a cloud solution architect, I was on the national overlay team, so I could have gone everywhere. But they tried to staff that team in a way where I would cover more of like the regional based customers. So Chicago, Illinois, Iowa, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, right? So those were kind of the states I'd go to if I did travel. We didn't travel heavily, and then we'd go to like Seattle or Las Vegas. So I always appreciated that.
It's so much cooler in the US here. You've got so many more cooler places. The UK is so small, and I'm not sure that it's got a cool place, you know? It's like, ask me if I'd rather go to Birmingham or Las Vegas. You know, it's like, there's no comparison.
Yeah.
So Birmingham, London. London's okay, but it's just too busy. It's too close together. There's too much going on, and it's very compact.
Yeah, but you see and that's the UK perspective. And we were kind of having this conversation with Simon and when he was on last week. You can drive a few hours and be in another country.
I know we can't do that.
Besides Canada, I could be in Canada in an hour, as I said last week.
It would take me about 6 or 7 hours.
Takes you 6 or 7, whether you go north or whether you go east and go through Detroit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Take me hour and a half, depending on the backup on the bridge or the tunnel. But besides that, we've got other states, but certain states aren't worth visiting anyway. But like you said, we got Vegas, we got Chicago. My family loves going to Chicago. See, the only pizza that my wife feels exists is Chicago pizza. So
yeah. Well, that's it. When I came over to Toronto and obviously up towards Montreal last summer, obviously to drop my son off for a good sort of three weeks or so, and we got a chance to drive down into New York State and things like that. But it was like, you do realize, because we're not that stupid in that sense. But when you look at a map, you think, that's not too far. But then you kind of actually put the route in. It's like, that's 5 hours worth of driving. It looks like a tiny
from Toronto. It's like But we're about 5 hours in Detroit, the Detroit area, to get to Toronto.
That's still not bad though.
Which is it's 5. It's 5 hours, but I lose an hour, so it only takes me 4 clock hours to get to Chicago.
Yeah.
We don't have that problem in the UK.
Yeah. So my family and I, we were out on the West Coast for 2 weeks, driving up and down California. And I don't think I realized how big Los Angeles is. It's like 3 counties, the Los Angeles metropolitan area. It's Orange County, Los Angeles County, and Ventura County. And like, I stayed in Ventura County and I flew into Orange County because it's a smaller airport. I've got a little guy. I didn't want to have to juggle him at LAX. I already juggled him at O'Hare. And I was like, it was a lot to juggle him there. I'm like, we need a smaller airport. But it took us like almost 2 hours to get to Oxnard from Orange County. And it's like one of those things where, like, on a map, you're like, that looks like it's pretty fast. No, it's super slow. Well, it's because traffic's also awful in LA too. But it's interesting. Like, you can look at something on a map, you can have an idea of what it's really going to be like. and then you get in it and you're like, this just feels really long. So you know, we did a lot of watching of Bluey, so that helped our son out quite a bit. And I, you know, God bless the ability for that. When I was a kid, my parents were like, suck it up, you know, you gotta stay in the car, you know, color. And I'm like, okay, cool.
We there
yet?
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
When I came over before, it was like you go to Las Vegas, and you know, me and my other half, we were just thinking of things to do. So we ended up driving to Rachel in Nevada from Las Vegas, which is like, you know, it's probably about only 100K, but you realize that road is just super straight. You know what I mean? It's just literally point to point. So you're on a road for about 100Ks and straight to Rachel. So it's obviously Area 51, right? So we did the whole hire a proper American muscle car, you know, floor it all the way to Rachel, Nevada, and then do the whole. So, you know, that's what I love about America, is the whole experience, you know, the kind of, when you're from the UK, nothing is that cool. You know, I don't know how to frame it. I mean, do you guys see it that way, or is it just the norm for you? You know,
I think so. So we were talking about this, I think it was last week. I had colleagues that were in the Netherlands, and they came over to America, and they loved driving through Nowhere, Idaho, and Nowhere, Wyoming. I mean, it is gorgeous, but they drove around for like weeks on end, and they were just so happy for it. And I'm like, I could do that for like 4 or 5 days, have no issue, but I couldn't do it for like multiple weeks. That's a lot of driving around the middle of nowhere. Now for them, they were like, look, like, Netherlands were kind of, you know, bunched together.
Yeah.
Everything's spread out. It's gorgeous. We don't have the scenery. So I get it. I just think it's like a matter of like what you're around, right? And so you're around the UK all the time. So to you, it's boring. But there's part of me that wants to go drive through the countryside. I've only been to London, but I'd love to go drive through the countryside, see more of the UK proper. Turns out I'm very British, by the way. I just did Ancestry. I'm related to Queen Elizabeth I, and I'm also related to Henry VIII, which is hilarious. And it's funny because Henry VIII is actually Elizabeth I's father. However, the way I'm related to Elizabeth is one way, and I'm related to Henry VIII on the other side of this, the way that it so I'm like, the Tudors were just an interesting bunch, weren't they? Like, you're like, this sort of doesn't make sense. If I try to explain this to a customer,
the tree doesn't fork, is what you're saying?
Not in a weird way, because it kind of comes back. It's weird. I was like, I don't even know if I understand this.
Shannon.
Right? Yeah. But I mean, that's the way that the Tudor lineage was. It's like they all kind of, it sounds like it's like, you know, like those like weird families for a while that were kind of like in the Appalachian Mountains, you know, like they were, you know, and I'm just like, oh God, that's like, that was the thing. That was literally a thing, and it's in my lineage.
So, my daughter did Ancestry, and she was she is mostly, we found out, mostly Scottish.
Interesting.
Wow.
Which obviously comes from my wife's side, because like my ancestors all came from like Norway and the Scandinavian area.
That's where mine were from.
So like they landed surprisingly, like I grew up on the East Coast around Baltimore, DC, and Maryland, but our first ancestors can be traced to Wisconsin. So I actually, my ancestry started in the Midwest. Even though you know, of my current generation, I'm the only one in the Midwest.
That's funny. So
I must have just been drawn to come to the Midwest and meet my wife.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. My and I found out that was on my mom's one side of the family. On the other side of her family, they've been here since before the country was a country. So, you know, like, that's just kind of interesting. Like during the colony era, you know, and I'm like, I wish time travel was a thing, because I would like to go back and just witness it. I don't need to go relive it, but like witness it would be kind of cool, right? You know, to be there for like a day. Of course, I'd have to like change up what I wear.
We've got quantum computing. Maybe we can like build the quantum leap machine, right? You know,
right?
Rebooted that
except we need Scott Bakula. Like the new series, I can't take it seriously. There's no Scott Bakula in it. I can't take it seriously. Although he's I think he's in his 70s now, so I don't know. I think, or maybe it's 60s. I can't remember how old he is, but he's older. So, but yeah, I don't know. Was Quantum Leap a thing in the UK? Do you know the show?
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
I figured.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I was very young.
I was too. But we kind of fell in love with it. The whole notion of, like, I always loved the ones when he came back as a woman. That was hilarious. Because he'd always take him a bit to figure out he was a woman.
Right. They never knew what body he jumped into, right?
Yeah, he'd go try to find a reflection, and he's like, "Oh God, I'm a woman again." But I feel like that would be a fun proposition to go back and like witness things because I was just talking about this to a colleague of mine. The whole notion of we're not seeing like brand new territories be created as countries as big as the America is, right? Like that's just sort of a done deal at this point. I think all land in the world has been formalized as a nation, right? A country, whatever you want to call it. And so, I mean, the only thing that would change would be like we're changing the country name. We're changing up like where the dividing lines are. Like they're not actually forming new, colonies and new, nations. So that would be kind of fun to go back, like right before the nation became a nation, or like during the colony period. I think that'd be. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't want to stay there long term because I'd miss the internet. I'd miss,
Yeah.
I'd miss the constant communication. But I always feel like it'd be kind of cool to go like check it out for like a day or two or a week or whatever. That could be my vacation. Quantum leap back to the colony period.
Make sure you can quantum leap back to that.
Exactly, right. Like I would never, yeah, right. Because then I'd be like, oh, great. Now I'm in the 1600s. This sucks. There's no internet yet. This sucks.
You'd surely be classed as a mad person as well if you started talking about everything that you knew.
Could you imagine?
Stop and lock you up.
Yeah. Did you watch? Are you an Indiana Jones?
A witch.
fan?
It's a witch. It's a witch.
Did you watch the most recent Indiana Jones?
Do you know, I've started to watch it. I've only seen the first kind of 20 minutes.
Okay, I will not ruin it. However, there is some time travel stuff, and it's kind of interesting. So
very cool.
I didn't really ruin it. So what's so funny is like you read like the reviews, and people were trying not to spoil or whatever, but it's all over the internet that there's that's like the last. I think it's the last one of the actual series.
Yeah. They start off with him looking.
It's not.
He's all CGI, looking really young. Yeah, at the start of the film. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, on time travel though. But surely Back to the Future has got to be the classic trio of trilogy of films, right? I mean, you guys must have been into those as well, right?
Oh yeah, I have. You actually can't see it, but I've got like a picture disc. It's a vinyl record of Back to the Future 1, and it's in a frame at my. I'll take a picture and I'll send it over to you because it's pretty funny.
They're my all-time favorite films, without a doubt. I think it's what I mean. It kind of puts it all into perspective, like you say.
Yeah. The first one's amazing. The second one's pretty good. The third one is a little bit of a stretch, but I could tell it was the end. So
yeah, they forced that one a little bit.
Well, they did 2 and 3 at the same time, didn't they? I think, but I think I rate number 2 over number 1 actually, only because
I like the forward jump. That was kind of fun, right?
Yeah,
and I love how they were faxing in every single room.
You're viewing the first episode through the second episode as well, aren't you? So they
that is true. When they go back in time,
it didn't have that weird incestuous thing with his mom, right?
Yeah, that was
and
weird.
It made everybody uncomfortable. That made everybody uncomfortable.
I don't think he should have done that. But I did like when he went forward and he saw himself and was like 2045 or 2025 or whatever it was, and he got fired. And do you remember this? Because it's like one of my most favorite, most hilarious scenes when he gets fired. And then a fax goes to every single fax in their house. It's in every single room, just like a TV. And it says, "You're fired." I was like, wait, what? So like we rewound it like 3 or 4 times. And I was like, this is hilarious. Like, who wrote this?
Yeah. With the big multi-picture
and a fax machine that nobody uses uses now, let alone 2 years from now, right? So they missed that.
Yeah.
It was 2015, wasn't it? Wasn't it 2015? The date? So
no, actually you're right. It was 2015. That's right. He was going to be 45. That's why it's in my head as 2045. Yeah. He would have been 45 in that, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
So we were still using fax machines, so they aren't completely off.
Well, yeah, just about.
And doctors' offices and hospitals for some reason still use fax machines, which I have no idea why.
Although I feel like lawyers are now, if they need a fax, they'll like just messenger like a printed copy because they still need originals and things of that sort, which is always weird. I'm like, why do you need an original of that? But you can take a scan of this. Like, it's just weird what's required as an actual copy and what can be a scan. I don't know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Cracks me up.
Those industries are still very backwards,
right? Well, and then like the deciding factor of what has to be an original document and what can be a scan. Like I'm like, I want to meet those people that make those decisions, because I've got a ton of questions. Like how often do you guys review, or is it just you say it has to be original and you can't ever change it? I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, there's all kinds of interesting things that you just uncover.
I think Microsoft has a solution for that.
Right.
If I remember right.
They do. They do. Now, Johnny, are you an infrastructure specialist, an Azure infrastructure specialist, or are you
I am,
something
yeah,
else?
yeah. So I went in as the infra flavor. So core infra, whatever they lots of interchangeable names.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I like to think like the last couple of years when I was doing my kind of I was dipping into the areas that I didn't really work a lot with. So kind of cloud native, kind of learn a bit about AI, doing database stuff, over the last few years. So I kind of learned and managed to deal with in a few projects quite a breadth of the Azure platform. So it's great. I have good fun speaking with customers now because there's, it's one of those things with being able to hold a broader conversation, if that makes sense, rather than just being focused into one specific area and being very deep. I like to think I've got my deep areas. I think I'm still keeping up to date to a point, but I'm loving the breadth of conversations now as well, which the role kind of affords because, that's where we're at now. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to know a little bit about a lot of things, and it's that way even in the SI space too. So the interesting thing is now I have to learn a new cloud, which I've been doing better and better. In fact, Dwayne, I rescheduled my Solution Architect Associate exam, but I just need now I'm afraid I'm going to have to move it because I haven't had any time to really study for it because I'm going to try and take it at the end of December, but I need those cycles, to get down and get dirty and in the weeds with it, because that's the only way you really know it. Like you've got to stumble around and figure it out. But yeah, now, and the hard part is I also now need to kind of know GCP, and I'm like, I don't know. Is there like a thing I can just download, like hook it up via USB, do a data transfer or something? Because I feel like that would be faster.
That would be helpful, right?
Would be helpful, but unfortunately, that's not the way it works. The beauty is, so I've got folks that can ask, right?
So I've been virtually attending and moderating some sessions for the ISC2 Security Congress, which is going on this week in Nashville. And there was a keynote yesterday where the keynote speaker, she was going through a what if scenario of our earbuds registering our brain waves and sending to our bosses all of the information and everything that we're doing, through our brain waves, and
Wow.
And like awarding, hey, great job on your brainwave activity and balancing your brain waves, and then a scenario where the worker came in the next day and the FBI was taking away this one employee's all their stuff because they found out through his brain waves he was selling company secrets and things like that. So, wow. And they're like, and then she went on and was showing examples of things that Meta's doing and other companies are doing to capture that information, through earbud technology and through the Quest and the Meta Quest and things like that, that can then download what and understand you and what you're doing. And that was really super scary. everybody on the chat was like, please stop. I don't want to hear about this. But yeah, the technology is there. It's just bringing it together. So Shannon, we might not be too far away about downloading the Solution Architect exam into our brain.
I'm down for it. I feel like there's more you could just download and peer.
Kind of ruins the integrity of your knowledge, though, if you're downloading.
Does it? Like, see, there's also part of me that like.
As long as it stays there, right, and then you can do it after the exam, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. I guess if it stays long term, then I'm down with it. If it's just there for the exam, that feels like
if it's an exam dump that's going into your brain, that's exactly. You've violated all exam integrity. We do not. I got to say this as an MCT. We do not condone exam dumps for exams. Learn the material.
We condemn instead.
Condemn, yes, we condemn it.
Well, I'm getting up to the end of the hour. I do have to drop. I did get an IM from the next meeting that I'm lined up for, but I did want to thank you, Johnny.
Anytime. It's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you both for and for Amy for having me on. It's been a nice little break in my day to come and say hello to you all.
Yeah, and we'll have to have you back. We'll
Yes,
have to.
definitely.
We're
We
gonna
got
have
to
to
schedule some more of these, Shannon. We've only got like 2 more episodes
I
scheduled for the year. I
know.
noticed
I know. So I was going
because
to
of the holidays and everything. We got a couple
Yeah.
off weeks and things like that.
Yeah.
So we've got
Yeah.
like
So
one
I've
in
got
November and one in December. But yeah.
Yeah, I think we've got some ideas on additional people. So I was going to like hit up you and Amy because Amy said she had some people too. So I was going to see if she has time to schedule anything. If not, I know that there are some more folks. But what's funny is the amount of UK folks that are always just like, "Yes, put me on. I would love to come talk."
That's what I always say. I say like I got my MVP through meeting people in the UK, like doing your user, doing everybody's user groups and everybody's talks, because you wanted to do them in like the evening or midday, and that was the morning or midday for me. And with kids and everything like that, it was much easier because it didn't come up against taking kids to theater or to sporting, sports and things like that. So I have a lot more MVP friends, I think, across the pond than I do actually in the US. It's really
I think all three of you guys on this held in high regard over here in the UK. I think in the community and community standings, aren't you? I think there's quite a nice bunch of folks over in the US that are kind of. I think it's that extended part of the UK community, isn't it? Almost.
That's the thing I like about the Microsoft community. Really, it's hugely just welcoming, and and UK
Europe.
group's awesome.
You look at Belgium and wider Europe. There's so many folks over there as well that are
It's
big happy cloud family, isn't it?
It is. It's definitely that.
It's true. Well, I have to jump, and I'm so sorry. Great to see you, Dwayne. Great to see you, Mr. John Lunn, and we will be in touch.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thanks, Shannon. Have a great
Of
weekend. And John, as always, it's a wonderful time to talk to you. So
absolutely, Dwayne.
Appreciate you taking the time.
Good luck with everything. Take care, and we'll catch up soon then, Dwayne.
Sounds good. And thanks everybody for tuning in and connecting in the clouds with us.